Thank you for listening to The Pain of the Claim, your source for prescription strength claim relief. And now, your hosts, Jeremy and Donna Lavelle.
Welcome to the Pain of the Claim podcast. I am Jeremy Lavelle with Remedy Claims Consulting, joined as always with the beautiful Donna Lavelle, my wife, always doing everything she can to make sure that I stay in line because God knows I truly need the help. Say hi, Donna.
Hi.
We have an incredible lineup for you today. So, Donna, who do we have with us today?
We have Miss Sarah
Hello.
Parker. How are you?
Doing all right. Excuse my late night FM DJ greeting there.
The sultry voice.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for
Welcome
joining
to
us.
3 hours. Welcome to 3 hours of smooth jazz, where we've got you
Easy
covered
claims
from
listening.
top to bottom, inside.
Easy claims listening. I do want to have a parody song station
Oh my gosh.
for claims.
Yeah, where we rewrite some of the world's greatest rap songs, but change it to claims
Oh my.
language. There we go.
That's all we need. So I wanted to ask you. So I see you everywhere. You're on a lot of podcasts. I follow you on LinkedIn, and I think I first saw you during Vince's course. I was lurking in the background while Jeremy was taking the course, and I noticed your legal mind, and I was like, "That's who I want to talk to." So I just wanted to get a little bit of background on where you came from, what why you're doing what you're doing, and what made you decide that claims was the way to go.
Yeah, I guess to make a longer story short, I kind of came into public insurance adjusting by accident, like a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Not something I had ever considered or even knew about. Like, that's not, when people take those assessments in high school, right? Where they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Insurance adjuster's not on there.
Yeah, I don't remember playing with Legos in the floor going, I want to be an insurance adjuster when I grow up. This is what I want to
Matterport
expect, right?
playset didn't exist. So, right? So,
Yeah.
The easy scope bedroom.
We could go on and on.
So yeah, exactly. Just like everyone, I fell into it by accident. And just like everyone, it was either through a friend that had a loss or you knew people in the industry. And for me, it was both. My friend had an awful house fire, and she had a terrible time with her insurance company as well as with her public adjuster, unfortunately. And so when she was telling me about it, of course, I was like, oh, language on this podcast. I won't swear too much, but do you need me to? Okay.
Oh, you can.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah. If you've heard our other show, then you certainly
My
can
first
cuss.
thought is, what the hell is a public adjuster, right? And it just, I did what anyone would do. Straight to Google. And I was like, oh, okay, this looks interesting. And I didn't really think about it for a bit. Then I was looking for, a little bit later, I was looking for a career change. And, I was like, I wonder about that public insurance adjuster thing. It looks really weird. Let's check it out.
Did you start off as in a legal field, or had you been heading toward that?
No, I have no idea why I enjoy or am good at this, to be honest.
Yeah.
No. So I looked it up, took a deeper dive, and I was like, wow, I seriously get to look at not only, policies, which are essentially contracts, but I get to be outside. I love construction. I'm from a rural area, so I love construction. I love the craftsmanship, especially of some homes and businesses and things like that. And there's meteorology involved and science. I was like, why wouldn't I want to try this out?
All the cool stuff.
What were you doing before when you decided? I mean, because often public adjusting or even anything in the insurance career is often a second career for people. It's not, nobody goes to, like you said before, nobody goes to college planning to have an insurance, career path in front. What were you doing before that?
Gosh, I've had a really varied career. I wouldn't even say career. How do I explain this? I've always been in business, so I've never been pigeonholed to one thing. Not that I want to discourage people from, if you find something that you love and then you want to give your life to that, there's nothing wrong with that. But I grew up in my family's businesses. They're very entrepreneurial. So, I mean, I've been in sales, fine arts, coding, any discipline you could possibly imagine, especially through my mother's PR firm, I've been involved in. So I've just always done what I'm interested in and then make money from it. That's about it.
That's cool. So you kind of slumdog millionaired your way in.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Jeremy says. He just did a little bit of this and that, and it all just came together.
Yeah.
It really did. But I think probably the core value inside of me the most, and I just want to see if you kind of bear witness with this, Sarah, but it's my desire to be a communicator. No matter what I did, whether it was sales or whether it was, extreme sports, it was always me wanting to explain how things got done. Now, a lot of times people misdiagnose that as a teaching gift, so to speak, but it's really more a desire, a compulsion, if you will, to communicate. Is that something that you find to be a thread through what you've done? Or if not, what is that thread that kind of runs through that sort of tied all of this together for you?
I don't think that much. I don't. I am a very, very experiential and existential person. So I get vibes, I get a gut feeling, and then I go.
Okay.
I do have, just like everyone, core principles, I suppose, that drive me. But again, those are very experiential versus like I sat down one day and was like, these are my core values. No, that's not me. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm not of that type of mind. So
Yeah.
it drew me. I went into it. If it ever changes, I will leave. I just don't overthink it. I don't know.
What a great answer. I feel like less of a person.
No. I do coaching if you want. We can talk.
I may need to talk
I
to
keep
someone
my
after
life
this.
very, very simple. Yeah.
Hang on, I'm finishing my appointment on Zodoc right now. Just a second.
So,
Okay, I'm good.
I mean, that's probably not
Got a
the answer
whole
you're
new
looking for, but that's me. I'm just pretty simple.
I'm expecting this philosophical, finally, this is what I want to do.
I mean, we
but
can take it philosophical, but if you're really philosophical, you should never pigeonhole yourself to a profession as being your identity if you really want to go there.
Wow.
I don't want to go there because, yes, that's what I
Yeah.
have done. I have done that.
You can express your purpose through a job, but your job should
And
never
it's hard
be
to
your
separate
identity.
the two. Yeah.
I gotta fully agree with that. While I've got to text Dr. Leibowitz and let him know we have a whole new set of circumstances to unpack, we can quit talking about mom for a while. But Sarah, you bring up a really good point, kind of from an experiential nature, and I think that when you get into things like public adjusting, I think that requires a significant amount of empathy to allow the world in to really experience it, as opposed to approaching it from a very very compartmentalized, planned, and structured and strategic. Not that you're not strategic, just that's kind of how I look at it. Brave is really kind of what comes to mind when you kind of jump off, when you're jumping off like that, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, was there that element of bravery that you felt when you kind of soldiered into this field?
No, I mean, just everything in my life I've ever done is something that no one I know has done, something that's scary, and so that's all that I know. All I know is risk. All I know is going for it. So I don't know any better. It's not that I'm brave, and I don't know any better.
Ignorance is bliss.
I want to do something, I go do it. And, I don't have a game plan when I go to do things. I learn as I go. I consult with others. I learn from others. I find mentors. And then I do it. But I would say, Jeremy, you have an advantage. Excuse me. For approaching claims not in an emotional state.
Yeah.
You will last longer emotionally, mentally, physically to do this career. Now, you can have empathy, you can have sympathy, you can have understanding. But a lot of us run into something called compassion fatigue. It's that burnout that you see about 1 to 3 years in for most people. And I wrote an article about it. I'll send it to you. It's got like 800 views right now.
Cool.
And, Chip Merlin reposted it. And I detail how everyone in the property insurance claim industry experiences what law enforcement, first responders, social workers experience. And it's something called compassion fatigue.
Yeah. It's an art, I guess. It's an art form to observe and not absorb. And I absorb.
Oh, we all do. We all do. That's, no, we all do. And so that's why you manage compassion fatigue. You're not immune to it. So, yeah.
I'm still just unpacking the entire phrase compassion fatigue. Like, I mean, have you ever had something just hurt your brain? Do you know what I mean? Like
I didn't know there was a word for it. I didn't know that there was a phrase.
Because
he has an entire. I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Well, and even for our listeners, I mean, just kind of help us out a little bit. I mean, because that's what it is. It's compassion fatigue, and I had never. I when I find new words, trust me, I use them. You know what I'm saying?
This will be in his.
This is going to come out a lot. You know what I mean? So I might as well educate myself on it. So can you kind of give us, I mean, I love that you were talking about the first responders. I would even think that would begin to even stretch out to teachers. You know what I'm saying? Those anybody that's sort of in an essential role that is sequestered and put in the position to deal with the public and their basic, most primal needs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we deal with their shelter, their education. Obviously, I would go as far to say that education is an absolute need. Those sorts of, and safety, those kinds of things. That compassion that's required to deal with them.
I guess I would be careful to romanticize it with a specific profession or service that's being provided to people. I would say any human being who's in a position that they are encountering other human beings within service, whether that's paid or free, and the people that they're serving are in crisis, can be affected by this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just got really deep again. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, the only time I find
you dropped a couple of nuggets, so we're still.
Well, I mean, when you're impacted at an emotional level with something like that basically gives you some sort of tangible understanding of what you feel. You know what I mean? Because it's not their fault you're tired.
It's the other way around, though. So, compassion fatigue is insidious. It's very interesting. So, Dr. Figley, I quote him all the time because he's really the person that coined this term. Really, a lot of his studies during Hurricane Katrina really helped launch all of this, but he's been researching this since the 80s. The opening line, and I have it memorized, eventually, we lose a certain spark of optimism, humor, and hope. We tire. We aren't sick, but we aren't ourselves. And what it is when you have the emotions of others every day coming at you that are negative, it impacts you. So it's not so much the other way around of you being tired and not being able to be of service. It's the fact that you care to be of service that makes you vulnerable. And that's why you'll run into adjusters, public, staff, and IA. You'll run into adjusters that have something called negativity bias. Well, they hop on the phone and they're ready for a fight, right?
Immediately,
yes, because people are screaming at them all day. They
think they have to be ready for it.
Right. So you have negativity bias in there, and it's just like the people that are just like ready for war, where they're just like, that is a symptom of it. The ABA actually recognizes this in attorneys. It's a huge issue of why in the legal field there's so much prevalent substance abuse and depression and suicide and family issues. They experience this as well. It's just the adjusting profession hasn't quite caught up. in recognizing
Yeah.
it. So it takes natural empathy, and you're just bombarded all the time. Loss, 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 broken things, feelings, managing people. It's low grade negativity and vicarious trauma, they call it, vicarious emotions that
Yeah.
eventually flip on you and drain your spirit. And it turns into compassion fatigue, which can result in post-traumatic stress disorder from there. Burnout, is the end result. So, but you can manage it. That's the good
That
news.
is some heavy stuff. Yeah, that is good news. I'm glad.
Silver lining.
Now that you've diagnosed me with all these things, I'm glad there's help out
So-
there.
Yeah.
Well, because there's a term for it, it means I'm not the only one that feels
yeah.
this way. I think that's what
That's
I'm
important.
I think that's what I'm trying to unpack here.
Yes.
Is that I felt guilty in some places where I have a negativity bias or I have a compassion fatigue, that maybe I'm not suited to do this because I feel these things. And and that is when you, because then that begins to attack your self-worth or your self-value.
And that's why I said
in
don't make
certain
your profession
situations.
your identity. So it all loops back together.
Right.
It'll hurt you more.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I don't want to trivialize kind of what Sarah's bringing here, Donna. I really don't, because these are some pretty big things that
Yeah.
I want those of us who live in a very isolated world, especially people like independent adjusters, Sarah, where they live in a very isolated
Yeah.
world because they're away from home, they're in a hotel room, they don't have a consistent sort of work environment that they can count on and draw from. It's just them. There's no, and I was an IA for a long time, and when you're sitting there at 2:00 in the morning with your face buried in your hands because you don't know what to do next, or maybe you don't know how to estimate it this way, and then you have the pressure of these people needing you to get your estimate turned in so those people can get paid,
Absolutely.
right? And so and it just becomes, and you really begin to question your ability. But when you know that this is what I'm wrestling with, and you put I don't want to say a label on it, but you help identify why this hurts.
Yes.
Why is this a bruise? Because then we can begin to treat it. Once we identify it, diagnose it, then it can be treated.
Yeah.
And I think that is the
And it's a
important thing.
natural, normal human response, not isolated to any failure of character. Absolutely.
That is
That's good to hear.
Yeah,
It's not
that is
due to
really
failure
good
of
to hear.
character,
Yeah.
and it's not due to weakness of spirit. It's very much just because you're human.
Do you speak on this stuff? Do you have a tour or anything where you're teaching people these things?
I did a lot of mentorship and speaking from about 16 to 24. And then really when I got into public adjusting, I was just all in for a year. So yes, I do.
Yeah.
I would like to definitely get more back into that. But yeah, definitely available for anyone that's interested. Yeah.
That's good. It's good for people to know that's out there. You're out
Yeah,
there.
and it's always in
for
levity of
people to reach out
spirit
to.
and in a spirit of hope as well. Because I think,
Yeah.
when people talk about these things, it's typically they'll highlight, oh, you might have compassion fatigue. Good luck. Like, wait, you don't, wait a minute.
Later.
you don't have any further explanation for me? You don't have any
Yeah.
resources? What? Throw me a lifeline here. So it's whenever I do any courses, I do have courses that I do as well, and webinars. Whenever I do those, it's a full picture. It's always a holistic lesson, if you will. The solution is included.
So it sounds like what you're up to now is kind of like that. When I first saw Kuva Media, I was like, is this a training
yeah.
platform? Is it a social media?
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's a lot of things. Can you tell us
Yes.
first of all what it is and how you're involved in
Yeah,
in that?
absolutely. So I have a media company or media agency called Kuva Media, and it is essentially just a way for me to do a ton of things I've always wanted to do in a structured way. So we kind of have three main parts to Kuva Media. We have Kuva Academy, which is e-courses. They are short form or micro courses. Many of them are interactive. I don't have a great attention span. So that's why I made them that way. They're impactful and actionable and made for you to use immediately to improve your life and or make more money. I also do webinars, but people have to upvote those. So you can send in requests for specific courses or webinars, and then if enough people upvote it, then I will put on a paid webinar for it. One of them right now that's in high demand is AI Basics. I create AI. So this course teaches you.
I saw that what you
Exactly.
posted.
So it teaches you
It's like,
everything.
when I can't sleep, I'm going to talk to the
Because
AI.
a lot of what people want to know, they think is inaccessible. But it's just like learning math or physics. You just need to learn the building blocks first and then build your way up. 1 + 1, 1 × 1, and so on. So learning AI or anything you want to learn in the world is just like that. So Kuva Academy is a way for me to share my knowledge and coach in a way that allows me to, because I just don't have a lot of time to do,
And it's not geared toward any specific
Right.
profession. It's just
it's not
anyone.
Insurance training. It's for anyone and everyone. Then we have Kuva Shop, which is not quite released yet, will be released soon. That is instant delivery, on demand things that SMBs can use. So when you're a startup, it's all those little things that just take away your time and lower the morale of your team. Like, we don't have email templates for our entire sales workflow for clients. You can buy that immediately from us. So stuff like that, right?
So you're a resource for several different
Yes.
different
And that's for
things.
that's
So
for
it's-
everyone. And then Kuva Media is your premium, bespoke, all hands in solution for design, data, and development. We call it websites and apps. Deep branding development. Like a logo. People are like, I got a logo on Fiverr. Nothing wrong with that. But do they know that they should give you an entire logo suite for different applications, colors, sizes, formats? And what was the strategy behind that? So a lot of people approach business knowing their business but not their clients. So we connect the two. And those are very much bespoke services. So we got Kuva Media. It's premium, bespoke, all-in marketing, everything you could need. Design. Then you have Kuva Shop, instant delivery. That's for everybody. And then Kuva Academy, learn to earn.
Nice.
I think it's funny that you use the phrase that people know their business but not their client.
Especially us, right? Public adjusters. Our clients don't want to hear
Wow.
about policy. They don't give a shit. They do not care.
Yeah.
Right.
I think they do.
Right. You really don't.
Let me tell you about this policy exclusion. Eyes glaze over. You don't know your clients. We don't know our clients.
So it's so funny that's true. Like it's like I do a lot of networking, a lot of small business networking, because I find the community aspect of it quite intriguing.
Yes.
It's not so much about the business development
No.
opportunity there for me, but it's the community that I find so intriguing. You know what I mean? It's where business people go to church almost kind
And you
of
have
thing.
the same players. But
Like
at church.
There's so many parallels. I grew
Yeah.
up in church, Sarah. So
Me too.
just a small little piece of my history. My parents were pastors, and so I saw the landscape of church through a very unique set of goggles. And I want you to know that it is goggles by really and truly. It is a skewed perspective when you grow up in what I called the first family of the church, whatever given church you're in. And so as I began to involve myself more in business networking, it really began to intrigue me, the parallels. But the point is one of the members of this is a copywriter, and he's sitting in a room full of people who probably know their business but not their client. Okay, and one of the things that he pointed out was that you can, by and large, go read website after website after website, and this is where I think Kuva Media ties into my story here. Is that you can go read a website that will tell you all about what they can do, who they've helped, what their services are, the solutions that are out there, and they just sort of land blast and shotgun their services and results up to this given point, but it loses a lot of tangibility because they never really directly address their client. And that's by and large because they don't know who they are. You know what I mean? They want to sell to everybody. Such and such is $1 billion industry or a multi-billion dollar industry.
Niche
you know what I'm
marketing is a
saying? And they
thing.
look at, it's a real
You need to
thing.
know
It's
who your client is before. Yeah.
you really have to know. Yeah. And
When we get bombarded on LinkedIn for, coaching and stuff, I'm like, do you even know what
I
we
come
do?
I come back at them all the time with kind but very constructive feedback, especially when they use AI.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, you need to recalibrate your settings to exclude me because I'm not in your target market. So you're going to blow your API limits there, bud. Just giving you a tip. And they're like, what the fuck is this person?
Like, who is this person?
Blow
Make sure
your,
I never
you're gonna
email
blow
her
your
again.
credits on people that are not in your target market, which is me.
Yeah.
I don't own an insurance company, but your automated tool thinks that I do. Set your keywords better.
you seem
bro.
to really be good at
Yeah, I love that.
I love you. Seem to
I
be,
like your work. Okay, well, what work is that?
You seem to be really good with your clients, and we help insurance agents all over the country. You understand I'm not an agent, right?
Yeah.
Give me a definition of what I do, and I'll set up a meeting with you. But until then,
Then they scramble,
no,
and then
we
they're like,
can't
wait,
meet.
we can make our product work for you. No, you can't.
No, you can't.
People that try to make project management tools for us can't even do it right, so calm down.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we haven't even. That is funny that you say that because that is
CRM,
so really
Yeah.
true. The closest we got
Closest
was a
thing is
was
law
a
firm software.
legal wire.
Like,
Yeah, it was a
We
legal
make them for
wireframe.
people.
That's the
Yeah,
closest thing.
We make private ones for companies because they are so
Oh, do
fed
you?
up with what's available. That's what I had to do.
Mm-hmm.
Is make my own system. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you can't put a square. Is it square peg in round hole?
You can't. That's correct. You can.
Or is it the other way around?
Depends on the size of the peg in the hole, but by and large, you're
There
not
are
gonna
some
have a comfortable
decent
fit.
project management tools out there for our industry. There's a couple that I love for IAs and like umpires, appraisers. They're simple, they're beautiful, they're inexpensive. They just work wonderfully. But and the other issue is that every PA firm is set up differently. If they even know what they need, that's the other issue. So.
Yeah, and usually they think CRM. They're not thinking
Well, in
workflow.
CRM,
Well,
You need a
what they really
workflow.
want is a project management tool with CRM
Yes.
capabilities and task management capabilities. But
Correct.
And they think that all of those things are interchangeable.
yeah, and the people selling them don't care to help them. Yeah.
Yeah, or they think the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, realizing that there is so much. I mean, and every little piece of software that you buy, most of them have some kind of CRM element to it. It's,
Whether you need it or not.
whether you need it or not, and there is so much overlap in these apps. You know what I'm saying? All of these different, either subscription based, especially in these subscription based solutions that are out there, whether it's for claims management or whether it's for just general project management. I started in project management back in the mid 2000s with a program called Basecamp.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
do you remember
Yeah, it's still around.
Basecamp?
I actually.
Yeah,
it's
no, I
not
think
my
it is,
favorite,
and-
but I do work with people on it for different projects, but not for Kuva Media.
But I remember when it came out, I found it so elegant.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And all of these things. And it's just like, and sometimes they are so robust, it is hard to, use everything that it can offer you, especially in the SMB world, right? It's going to be one of those things where you don't really have the bandwidth to use this thing. And so it's more of an enterprise solution than it is a more focused solution.
Or you're getting it to solve a problem that you have right now, but you don't have time to learn all the other
it's
things
like
that
getting
you can
handed
use
a
it for.
Swiss Army knife, and you're like, I don't know what half the stuff
Yeah.
here does. I really don't have time to use it because I just need to be using the screwdriver and knife all the
And
time.
it could be helping you a
Yeah.
lot. It could be helping you a lot, and you don't have time to figure it out or
we
find
help
out.
contractors do automations in AccuLinks because they're like, I'm like, you're not using your automations. They're like, no. How?
What?
Right. I mean, it's so. I mean, but look, those same people, and that's me included. Know that I don't even know how to use all of Microsoft Word. Okay, like I can get in there, I can type a document, that kind of thing, and then copy and paste whatever it is that I'm doing into a template or that. If you follow what I'm saying, like I could not tell you how to create a drop down box in Excel. I could tell you that I know how to Google it. I've done it before.
I'm an expert at Googling.
You know what I mean?
Excel
And that's real. And so in the world of Google, when you can go find that stuff and that information to perform this task this one time for this one project or this one, whatever, you do that, but you never really learn.
And you don't need to. That's the other thing is I think, especially because our industry really pushes the narrative of being like this super brain that knows everything, right? But effective business management is different. Very different. And that's what sets apart the most successful public adjusting firms from the solo practitioners that don't choose to be solo practitioners. But the ones that don't want to be solo practitioners but can't hit the next level, you don't need to be the super brain that knows everything. You need to be
you can't know everything because you can't do everything.
You need to be a business person that finds where, when, and how you can delegate what needs to be done effectively and safely and affordably. And so that's how we set up our solutions for people as well, is a lot of it is automated. We give you a map of how we set it up for you if we're doing like a process optimization package for a company, as an example. They don't understand it. However, they know that it works. If someone presses this button or enters this thing, then this thing happens. If it breaks, Kuva Media or any random Joe on the internet can take the plan and the map that we also handed them with their new system, figure out where it's broken and fix it. So they don't have to know everything, but they have to have a partner that can help them create the map, create the plan, implement it, and then that allows them to have the freedom to fix and change appropriately. But you don't have to know everything.
Well, I'm not asking you to let the cat out of the bag, guys. If you want business coaching, please reach out to Sarah Parker because we're not going to teach it right here, right now. Okay. So for those of you who were kind of hoping that we would dig into that, go ahead and exhale. You can run to the restroom, whatever it is that you got to do, because that's not what we're going to get into. But Sarah, I do want to ask, is this something that's more proprietary? Or are you using a model that you're patterning this after, kind of like EOS? Because I'm a huge fan of Traction, right? I like the concept and the way that it unpacks some of these things, and sort of it's, for lack of a better term, and I don't really mean this, one size fits all. It's a great way to create an enterprise operating system. In fact, that's what it stands for. So, is it like that, bespoke, or is it something different?
Everything is bespoke. We follow general principles based on my experience in business from literally 5 years old. So there's a general process and there is an outline, but every single thing with Kuva Media is bespoke. So no one business is the same, and that's where our value is. And that's where our value is, because there is value in set systems. Like, I know people in our industry, there's a few people that will do the very specific personality assessments for finding talent and things like that. There can be great value in working within a very structured program. But that's not me, and that's not how I operate. So everything is bespoke to the client that we're working with. The other thing is, not only do businesses usually just know their business but not their clients, but they typically approach problems by jumping into a solution first and then seeing if it'll fix their problem. 90% of where you spend your money, who you work with.
Do you see him shake his head?
90% of where you spend your money, who you work with, and the amount of time when you're looking at any kind of process optimization or anything needs to be within the planning phase. Planning and research phase. The implementation should be the cheapest part. It should be the cheapest and faster part. However,
Where were you 3 years ago?
But most people call me and they're like, hey, I know someone that they've sunk over $500,000 into a custom CRM. And I'm like, your developer didn't do a deep discovery plan first? Oh, no. They said they could do it. That's most people that are coming to me say that. I'm like, most of your money, most of your time should always go in the research and planning. You have it mapped out before you ever spend a penny on actually implementing it. Then you know it works before you start building it.
There's certain questions that you need to be asking yourself and being able to answer before you
find the problems
dive in.
first. Then research the solutions to find the problems. Not the other way around. I know it's crazy. It's a simple thought. Because people are like, oh, you need this app, you need this, you need this, you need this, you need this research, you need this education. No. Figure out what your problems are that you need to solve. Then you find the solution.
The funny thing,
save a lot of time and money.
The funny thing is that people would call that sort of taking a reverse engineering approach to it.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah.
But the reason it's here's the funny part. Get ready. The reason it's considered reverse engineering is because the conventional wisdom of approach has been so freaking wrong. It's not even funny. It's now the right way is considered the backward way. You know what I'm saying? Or the whole paradigm and approach to it. So I love what you're saying. At some level, guys, I'm sitting here drinking out of a fire hydrant. That's why I'm shaking my head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why, Donna referred to me shaking my head there. And I just kind of sit up and I giggle and I laugh a little bit because it's like, where were you 3 years ago?
Yeah, Sarah, where were you?
I mean, because the one thing, look, I got into networking and there was this coaching opportunity that they had, right? And they said, go to this mastery class. I'm like, okay, great. That sounds good. It's $5,000. And I'm like, okay, $5,000. It's not that I don't have $5,000, but you're going to have to really kind of sell me on what, because there's a lot of things I could spend $5,000 on that change my world.
Totally.
You know what I mean? As far as, whether it's a piece of equipment or it's another software package or whatever the case may be, there's a lot of places I could spend $5,000 and knock a dent in some things, right? And so I was like, you're really going to have to sell me on. And it turned out to be more business development. Now, it was a business development coaching thing. And so I chose not to take that. What I was screaming for 3 years ago was infrastructure. I needed help with infrastructure because I didn't get in business. I didn't start being a public adjuster because I wanted to figure out the ins and outs of running a successful PA firm. I got in it because I had a passion to work claims and to help people. And so most chefs don't open a restaurant because they want to figure out the best way to order onions.
No.
Right? You know what I'm saying? It's not to find all of the different resources on spaghetti sauce and all that. I mean, that's not why they get into this. They get into it because generally it's motivated out of some kind of passion, especially within our culture over the past 20 years or so with the explosion of the internet and things like that, where everybody has this entrepreneurial effort in front of them, whether it's for a product or a service. And so that is what I was screaming about because so many of us get into these businesses over a passion project and we don't think about infrastructure when we step into it. So the thing is like if you're the best at what you do, let's assume you have no problems with the production of you performing the work product for which you think you have a business for. Let's assume for a second you're the best at that. What is all of that? What are the problems that causes?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Even a market for it. That's the other thing. Who are you selling this to? Are you just making this because you think it's cool and then you'll just figure it out and you wonder why you don't have sales?
Yeah. I saw a meme this week that said we didn't get into this because it was easy. We got into this because we thought it would be easy.
Yeah, and I encourage people to follow their passions because, like I said, I'm a very, very existential, experiential person. So I typically don't do anything or I'm driven to do much unless I enjoy it, right? Or whatever. So I do encourage people, definitely try to make some type of, if you want to, a profession out of what you enjoy, but guide it with business principles. So you don't have to choose either or. That's a huge trick too that people fall into, is that I got to choose one or the other. No. You have to guide it.
I've got a question for you, Sarah. and you can put it on a scale from 1 to 10. You can unpack it much further than that. You being the eloquent person you are, I certainly hope you choose to unpack it and give us a little bit. How important do you think it is that you reach out to either a coach or someone to help you develop this, whether you're selling homemade earrings or you're trying to start your own oil and gas company? I don't really care which one it is. How important do you think it is to have this sort of coaching and using these opportunities here that you're providing with Kuva?
I would say education is of paramount importance. But there are a few things that all humans are prone to, which will interrupt, destroy, or stagnate the possibility of your dreams becoming something. One of those is having gurus. There are people that I respect and love as mentors in this industry, and very much respect as teachers, as mentors. But every human has to be very careful not to put a person on a pedestal where you don't see them as human then. Whenever you have a guru that can stop you, vary the sources that you're learning from. If anyone suggests anything to you, critical thinking is a very, very, very important thing to develop. And what we know about critical thinking, most of us, is not much. But true critical thinking principles, there's even an institute of critical thinking. That's how serious it is. It's a study. It's a science almost. It's really, really important. If anyone ever offers you advice in a loving spirit of analysis and healthy skepticism, why are they suggesting this to me? What is their motive? And that motive, you don't have to necessarily break it down as much as like, is this motive sincere or is it nefarious? It's not necessarily that. It's just, is the motive appropriate for me, or is this person unknowingly, accidentally suggesting this out of being self-serving? So when someone suggests something to you, look at who they are. How they treat
What the
people,
relationship
how
is.
their relationships are with others, what their results are in life, what their trajectory is. Do I want that for myself? If you want some parts of it, you want all of what they have, then listen. If they don't, thank them very much for their kindness of taking the effort to help you, and quietly set it aside for another time in case it might be useful. Because not everyone is good or bad when they're trying to give you advice, right? It's more, is this actually useful for me? You know, it's like, man, there's a comedian that does a joke. Oh my gosh. There's a comedian that does a joke where he talks about he was driving, I think it was in Comedians in Cars. I think it was Jerry. And I believe it was Jerry. He says, I saw two homeless men talking and I realized one was giving the other advice. It's just like, that does not illustrate.
There's advice to be had everywhere.
That does not illustrate. Like, there are a few trainings in this industry that are 2K, 5K, whatever, that I would recommend. But I'm careful to explain when I recommend it why. A couple of them, they're not really appropriate for beginners. So I'm like, you're not going to get anything out of this now. Probably not a great idea to take it now. When you do, this is what I found value in based on my business and my adjusting style. If that matches you, then maybe this might be helpful to you. When people give you advice
Just
like
don't assume
that,
that what worked for me is going to work for you.
when people give you advice that's more informational for you to then make your own decision, those are the best people to connect with. Not, you have to take this class. Yeah? Why? Why?
Yeah.
I have to? Yeah? You going to pay my bill? Why are you so interested in me taking this class? Do you have any reasons?
Yeah.
You know, healthy skepticism.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jeremy, your
so
face
much of
right
the
now, you're like,
classes-
wow, this is so much.
Look, I realize I'm the only face that can be seen just in
I'm
this
sorry, I
conversation.
thought this was
Unfortunately,
like-
it's okay. I want the audience to know, as they can't see my face, that so much of what Sarah just said is. It's like you need to write that down for the adjusters that are listening. I don't care if it's independent adjusters, public adjusters, write that down to realize that there are some courses that the majority of the courses out there, what you need to chew through is the political BS that exists, that you're not a valid adjuster if you don't take this course. So you need to, that's
so
a bone
much,
you need to spit out.
I call it character bullying. You know, like if you're not a large loss adjuster that flies across the country, you ain't shit. Fuck you and your
Right.
residential claims handling ass. You know, no. No. There are very successful public adjusters that do both large loss or residential in one area. You know, it's just whenever someone, that's another critical thinking, something to consider is when someone presents you with an absolute, question that immediately. Even me, if I say something,
Right.
question it. You know, you have to do this. This
is
should be this way. Everything should be this way. Yeah, why?
Yeah. There's no gray areas at all?
Well, and the other thing is that, you know, the unfortunate reality pretty much within any industry, especially one that is loaded with a bunch of alphas, and hang with me here, Sarah, ones that are loaded not with just alphas but incredibly opinionated ones. You can have a strong personality, that somebody that commands the room but doesn't come off opinionated, right? I'm an opinionated person. I mean, if you want to know what I think about something, shut up long enough and you'll eventually hear me say what I think about whatever, you know. And that doesn't make, just because you're opinionated doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that that's kind of how you communicate with the world based on your own worldview.
in this industry, you have to kind of be that way. You kind of have to be the alpha.
well, yeah, if you're going to keep up, I guess. But
Keep
there
up
are
with who?
those of us.
That's the question.
Well, I mean,
who are you
you're
trying
gonna
to keep up with?
well, right, keep up, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Is what I was about to say is there are those of us that have exalted above it. You know, and when I say those of us, I'm not including me in one that has exalted above it, because clearly I'm down in the trenches of it. You know, it's those who have chosen to not really, chosen not to invest their time, I would say, in probably the direction of the industry, and they just sort of run their own little postage stamp over there in their part of the world and what they do, and they affect the lives that they affect, and they go on with their life. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of honor in that effort.
Absolutely.
Then there's those of us that choose to take our profession and use it as a platform. And whether we feel like in general we want to be an agent of change, or we want to be an agent of information, or we want to be an agent of stability and
Or an
structure.
agent of chaos.
Okay. Or an agent of chaos.
some.
And I was trying to steer away from that one. Generally, the agents of chaos,
Depends on what mood I'm in.
you know,
Not us.
you know, it's the guys that are running around that generally criticize what everybody else who's trying to do something good is. You know, I want to be, you know, I don't want to downplay sort of the vocal portion of the industry that we all
it
work
takes
in,
all
whether it's on
kinds.
the Facebook
We need
forums
alphas. We need
or
them.
even.
We need the opinionated alphas.
Yeah, and
they have a very valid part in all of this. Absolutely.
But it's when it comes down to determining how you need to be educated, because I'm going to tell you, by and large, you do need to be educated. You need to be able to flesh out these pain points that you have and what you're running up
Yeah.
against. You know, I think most public adjusters, when they get into it, or contractors can be guilty of this too, but in the claims process, everybody's looking for the silver bullet that makes the carrier say yes. You know what I'm saying? What is the one thing I can give them that they can't argue
They
with?
don't realize that is a wholly inappropriate way to approach handling claims.
Bingo.
Ethically
Thank you. Thank you.
and just practically.
So, I mean, as it pertains to that, it's like Sarah's right. Why do I need to take this course? Well, it's really, I would want to ask you, well, what is it that you're wanting to learn?
Yeah, that's
what is it?
That goes back to
what
the
do
thing
you want
again,
to
find
learn?
the problem first, then find the solution.
Yeah. It's like, what can't you? Well, I wanted to learn infrastructure. That's what I wanted to learn. I felt like I had a pretty good handle on claims. And so you go to all of these claims handling courses, and I am going to save us from mentioning any specific one, and you get sort of the same sort of information put between two different pieces of bread, so to speak. So do you want your sandwich on wheat or do you want your sandwich on white? We've got a nice hoagie roll over here for you. And so kind of however it is you choose to consume that information is completely up to you. That's all good information and it should be implemented in what you do. But sometimes there are some skills that we need within it that doesn't have anything to do with handling claims. It has everything to do with handling people, whether it's an internal situation or how we project ourselves when we're out in the, in the workplace or in the highways and the byways as we go about what we do, as we influence people, whether it's in their networking group or in their living room adjusting a loss. It just kind of depends on how we want to. And I think I think you need to learn that and get that solid in who you are more than you need to figure out the silver bullet that's going to close a claim.
You're talking about soft skills.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Thank you, Sarah.
Soft skills are a huge one. I would say unsolicited recommendations here. Critical thinking is a huge soft skill. Again, always within the spirit, a loving spirit of critical thinking for the purpose of uncovering facts, never for, I guess, have your mindset. This is the biggest mindset that I think has been most effective for me. Take it or leave it if you like it. I don't, maybe it works for you, maybe it doesn't. I always think about what I'm for rather than what I'm against. It really, really unleashes the creativity out of your mind a lot more, helps you find solutions a lot more, helps you be solution oriented in your attitude, helps you view others as collaborators rather than roadblocks or adversaries. So when you're anti, then you're fighting everyone, right? You've got to win. That's not a conducive mindset to fact finding. So right. I would say that. So critical thinking skills. Everyone's really big on negotiation skills, of course. That's something you want to learn. But I would say critical thinking skills first and foremost.
I agree.
Yeah. And then I would also really, really encourage people to get very good at their emotional intelligence. Not in a kumbaya, let's sip tea and hold hands on a retreat kind of thing, which can be useful for some people. But a very, very practical, as a human being, these are my patterns. This is what I can react to. This is what I need to unlearn. This is what I need to relearn. This is how I want to change my perspective. This is, emotional intelligence for you as a person is very important to be in tune with. Otherwise, you'll be driven by every little emotional reaction and not even know it. It's called automatism, when people are on autopilot throughout a day. People explain it like, they don't even know what happened that day. They're just on an autopilot.
Sometimes I used to not even know how I got to work.
Yes, that's automatism. Very, very common, especially with people that have a routine within their lives. So it's very important to be in tune with your emotional intelligence and be aware of yourself and have critical thinking skills. That will set you up for success for anything. Anything.
Before we move on to our last segment, are there any books that you're currently reading that you would recommend?
No, because I think you need to find what works for you. What I read is probably not others' cup of tea. It may be for some, but I have a massive, massive bookcase, and
I figured you did.
Yeah, I love books, but again, just as much as you should not, in my opinion, because this is my opinion, should not have gurus within people, I don't know that you should have gurus in literature either. So there's definitely some go-to books that I have. that I love, and they've changed the way that I think and how I approach things. They help me unlearn. I think unlearning is as important as learning things, maybe perhaps more.
Oh,
So unlearning,
exceptionally more difficult.
Yeah.
Yes.
so I would say, really, again, developing emotional intelligence and awareness and critical thinking to be able to find solutions that work for you is more important than any one recommendation that I can give you, if that makes sense. Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You need to learn
I'm
how to
fine with
steer your
that.
own ship. That's really what
Yeah.
it is. I really want people to be independent and learn how to steer their ship, because for every decision in your entire life, if you are not actively making it, whether it's the type of coffee you buy or your business, everything in between, someone else is making that decision for you.
It's crazy that you say that, because the author that has impacted me the most, you know, most people in conventional circles would have never heard of. His books were very brief, but completely changed the way I think about a lot of
Yeah.
things. You know, this is 25 years ago. You know what I mean? So it wasn't recently, but I still go back to some of those precepts and central thoughts and ideas on how I govern, you know, what comes next for me in a lot of
Yeah,
areas.
and check out stuff you don't agree with too.
Absolutely.
You know, remember we talked about in the beginning, don't let your profession be your identity. The less labels and identity you can assign to yourself that is not it's not within your spirit. Anything external, your job, everything you can possibly think of. The less you can cling to that, the less reactive you will be, because you never know when you read something that you disagree with. There might be one tiny little thing that might change your life. And you can take what you like and leave the other 99%, right? And that's very important. But a lot of people can't do that because they're so wrapped up in their identity of I am this, I am this, I am this, I am this. When you say you are something, you don't know that in your mind, if you say you are a blank, that comes with a lot of behavioral and philosophical expectations of how you should be as a person rather than who you are at this moment. So it's a lot easier to, and I think you should, it's a lot easier to look and to learn things that you disagree with. You know, just look at stuff you disagree with, and learn something from it if you are not wrapped up in being defensive against it.
Right.
So, speaking of critical thinking, I don't know if critical thinking would be used in this context.
We're going to have some fun here.
Yeah, I'd like to play some Would You Rather.
You can request
questions.
it as a course if you want. I'll send you the link.
Rather
I did a
questions?
course for this for MAPIA, the Mid-Atlantic Association of Public Insurance Adjusters, like fallacies used in insurance claims, and their jaws were on the floor. Like, what is this? So, yeah.
So, my first question to you. So, I have three, and I think this is probably the one that I want to know the most. Would you rather have a pause button for your life or a rewind button for your
Neither.
life?
Yeah.
Neither. Why not?
I mean, and why? Typically,
don't
when
know.
people want to rewind or pause, it's to run from something. And so I think you should think about if you would desire either of them. Why? There's some emotional or mental rearrangement that may need to happen if there is something so uncomfortable in your current reality that wants you to pause or rewind.
That's an interesting
Yeah.
answer.
Well, my son's about to graduate from high school, and as much as I want him to grow and be something, I wouldn't mind him hanging out a little bit longer. You know what I'm saying? Because I think it's a matter of observing the work that you've done, or you know, you've grown this entire human being I just like to enjoy
kinda
him a
wanna
little
pause
bit,
it.
you know, and so you want to pause it, but that's not
And
good for
it's
him.
selfish.
And I think Sarah's right.
It's
And it's selfish.
it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's like,
I don't mean to demean it. It's beautiful, but it's selfishness creates all of our issues in our lives. 100%. Not all. Some are external, but it sucks. Yeah.
how many decisions do we make for the sole effort to mitigate
Oh
pain?
yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And and then the other thing too is you just have to deal with the fact that being human, there is some truths to existing that are uncomfortable and that hurt. So again, I don't think that I want the pause or the rewind button. It's not appropriate for whatever purpose I'm supposed to be here for.
Nice.
My next question. Let's see how you can spin this one.
It's not even spin. I'm a little. I didn't even go to college. I don't think I've been trained. You know, my brain has been outside of the purview of most society for so long that I really have an existential, loving view of things, and yeah, it's just a bit different.
So, would you rather have to yell everything you say or have to whisper everything you say?
It'd be really cool if I could have total silence.
Just answer the question, Sarah.
I think
I don't know. What's the context behind that? For what purpose?
There really isn't any. Just like in your own world, which one would you if you had to choose, which one would you rather have to do?
If I had to, and I hate these questions,
Yeah.
just so you know. If I had to, I'd probably make myself a mute. Just out of protest for making me have to choose.
Just so you don't have to
Yep.
answer the question. Yeah. I think personally, I would want to whisper because then people would lean in and really listen.
I don't
to
want
what I'm
everyone
saying.
to lean in. That's the other thing. You know, yelling and whispering both repel and attract certain types of people, and I'd like to be able to choose that myself. And I think as a mute, I'd really
That's
have
true.
the best control over that.
you'd at least
Yeah,
have their
I'm
attention.
not for
Yeah.
everyone, and not
You know?
everyone is for me. So I think as a mute, I'd have more choices about who is drawn in or repelled by the yelling or the whispering.
This is so cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been to therapy.
Well, I mean,
I love you,
it's-
Donna.
I think it's,
You're a whole person, and you're beautiful. Just so you know.
Oh, thank
You too, Jeremy.
I appreciate that.
oh, thank you. We had Leland Kuntz on several months ago, Sarah, and Donna just wanted him to read stories to
his
her.
stories
I just
are
want him
the
to read me
best.
bedtime stories. He's got
I-
that voice.
I
You
feel
have that
like
voice
he's had
too.
like 10,000 lives too. I'm just like, you did what,
Yes.
Lauren, on an
I
airplane?
know, right?
Well, he's amazing.
And he tells it.
like it's just every day. Like, you know, this just happens
Oh yeah,
all the
like
time.
I told him I know German, and he's like, oh yeah, I grew up there for a bit. I know German. It's like, what? How old are you? You've got to be
what didn't
300
you
to be
do?
able to fit the life experience that you're telling us about. Like,
Yeah.
I think
so
he
cool.
changed his name from Gandalf to
He's so
Leland.
cool. Yeah. That brings us back to community. We have a
It
wonderful
would be cool
community.
to have you guys both up on at
Yeah.
the same time.
Well, I don't know if Donna could take it.
I don't think so. I'd
I
be
think-
like, just read to me. Can you just read this? I'll send you guys stuff to read.
I think she'd end up in the corner in the fetal position,
Oh,
sucking her
gosh.
thumb at the end of the
We
day.
don't want
With a
that.
lullaby playing.
But anyway, Sarah, thank you so much for your time and your insight.
Thank you for
Man,
having me.
it's like I
I
can't.
was not expecting this. This is
I am
really
going to
cool.
lean on her to get this edited so I can go back and listen.
Yes.
to it.
Thank you for
Do you know what
having
I'm
me. I
saying?
appreciate it. It's
It is so good. And so if you're looking for public adjusting services in the Midwest, you can always reach out to Miss Sarah Parker. Is it Parker?
Parker
it's
Public
Parker
Adjusting.
Public
Is it Parker
Adjusting.
Public
We only
Adjusting?
service Minnesota.
Only service Minnesota. And then if you're looking for some direction in your business, please check
And in
out
your life.
in your live Kuva Media,
we'll
guys.
literally
Yes.
handle
There's
everything.
solutions
And we
out there.
service worldwide. So
So
Not just
Nope.
Minnesota.
So, Sarah, thank you so much
so
for your
much.
time. We'll have her web addresses down in the comments or the description of everything. And I honestly believe that Sarah is an incredible voice in this industry. I'm glad her voice is in this industry as it stretches and reaches into others and affects change there. I am so eternally grateful to have her in this one
you.
and her brilliant mind as it pertains to even the nuance of claims handling. I love that.
The mind of Sarah Parker. I think someone else had that as
That
their
was the title
when you were on
of-
someone
of-
else's show. It was
yeah,
the mind of Sarah Parker.
But thanks for what you do for the place where I work, for my workplace. You know what I'm saying? Thanks for keeping things cleaned up, keeping it real. You know what I'm saying? Talking them down, letting them know, and I appreciate your candor. I appreciate how direct you are about sort of some things. And I have that same approach. Now, I tend to be a bit more bombastic than most. And I'm just glad that we have voices like yours that bring a thought of reason to why things are. So
Thank you.
again, thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you guys. It was a pleasure.
That'll do it for us on this episode of The Rigmarole. And
We don't know what the show is called.
well, or The Pain of the
We're
Claim
trying
presents.
to figure it out. Who
That'll
dis-
do it for
I
this.
don't.
That'll do it for this episode of The Pain of the Claim presents. Sarah, thank you so much once again for coming on. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I want to encourage you to click like and subscribe. And by all means, if you know of somebody that this podcast could help, please share it and let them know what you found. Guys, we will see you on the next one.